Hello all and a warm welcome. We're going to quickly breeze through another reason why we can see, I think I might have touched on this before in previous videos, but for new watchers to this channel, I think it's quite important that we look at the epistles and Revelation, because this represents what I think clearly is an early strand of Christianity, still fairly Jewish in composition and still obviously pre-canonical gospel, and we'll see why very soon. But we see this as one of the first waves in Christianity, and this is before the real solidification, if you like, of the gospel stories and a human history for Jesus. Let's read. So we're talking about the First Peter, First John, Jude, James, Hebrews, and Revelation here. It's almost completely a celestial savior that we're looking at. So let's go for First Peter first. Christology in First Peter is high and exalted, with references to Jesus as the Lamb without blemish, 1 Peter 1:19, foreknown before the foundation of the world, 1:20, and now glorified at the right hand of God, 3:22. Suffering and glorification are central, but without biographical detail. Okay, gospel material, very little, no mention of Bethlehem, Nazareth, Galilee, Mary, disciples, parables, miracles, or trial under Pilate. The crucifixion is treated as a theological event rather than an historical one. So the notion here that Jesus might have been put into a human body and crucified, but somewhere else, in a heavenly realm, this is important to this strand of mythicism here. Relation to Paul, similar emphasis on suffering, atonement, and future glory, shared eschatological framework. Revelation of Christ is spiritual and apocalyptic rather than rooted in a human ministry. First John, Christology is paradoxical. Jesus is said to have come in the flesh, right? 4:2, likely in response to docetic views. Yet he is also from the beginning, 1:1, and intimately tied to cosmic light and life, 1:2. Gospel material is minimal. There is no passion narrative, no parables, no historical context beyond vague allusions to commandments. Emphasis is on love, sin, and moral purity. Now, First John is really the only epistle that talks about, there might be one or two others that talk about coming in the flesh, but this is very vague. And Paul himself talks about coming in the flesh here, or entering flesh, or being made like a human, which is quite vague. And whenever Paul talks of born of a woman, he uses the term born naturally, like humanly, of a woman, but he always talks about getting this difference between genau and genomai, and the difference here is quite stark in the Greek, because I think it's genomai means manufactured or manifest or made like you'd make something or construct something. So there we go. Yeah, First Paul. So the idea of coming in the flesh is actually quite a vague term. It doesn't necessarily mean, I know this might be difficult, but this doesn't necessarily mean being born on earth. All right, it's manifesting in a human body, and this is ancient Jewish speech here, so we can give them a little leeway if it sounds a bit weird to us today. These are mystical Jewish thinkers. Revelation, Christology is thoroughly apocalyptic. Jesus is the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world, 13:8. The cosmic warrior and judge. He kind of exists outside time here. He is both the Alpha and Omega, 1:8 and 22:13. His death and resurrection are cosmic acts, not narrated with any earthly detail whatsoever. Gospel material, essentially none. No, not historical narrative. No parables, miracles, or earthly ministry. Jesus is a heavenly figure who appears in visions And open scrolls, relation to Paul, even more cosmic and visionary, shares eschatological urgency and the concept of Christ as a revealer of divine mystery. So this can easily be seen here as perhaps pre the War of the Jews, so pre-70, maybe aspects of this are pre-70, because there's this imminence of the Lord has to come and save us, and the Lord will come and get rid of these evil people, maybe Jews, according to them, and also the Romans. Jude. Christology is minimal. Remember, Jude and James are supposed to be Jesus' brothers in the Gospels. Jesus is Lord and is associated with judgment. Interestingly, Jude attributes a prophecy to Enoch, the seventh from Adam, and refers to pre-Christian texts like the Assumption of Moses. Gospel material, 0. No narrative detail, no reference to teachings, miracles, or crucifixion. Relation to Paul, Jude's content is moral and polemical. Very little overlap with Paul beyond general apocalyptic tone. Christology is Christology is sparse. Jesus is mentioned only twice, 1:1 and 2:1. James is a small letter, by the way. The focus is entirely on ethical conduct, rich in proverbial wisdom, no passion narrative, no theological exposition of Christ's death. So there's no miracles, no birth, no death, no resurrection mentioned. Relation to Paul, antithetical emphasizes works over faith. He seems to downplay or avoid theological focus on Jesus. Hebrews, very interesting here. Hebrews is high and complex. Jesus is portrayed as a heavenly high priest who offers his blood in the heavenly temple. He is described as the radiance of God's glory, an exact imprint of his nature. 1:3, superior to the angels and Moses. It's very interesting, Hebrews. Gospel material, none directly mentions his suffering and crucifixion, but in a heavenly sacrificial context. Really, really interesting, this. It's might be worth me doing I think I will, a video on Hebrews. I've got it all written out anyway. No biography, no parables, no earthly ministry whatsoever in Hebrews at all. Relation to Paul, theological overlap with Pauline soteriology and exaltation. Perhaps Pauline influences, but with a distinct priestly motive. Now, Hebrews was actually considered once upon a time to be written by Paul. It no longer is, but it's rather interesting anyway. Now, I did a Bayesian summary. Did these authors know the historical Jesus? Just for fun, keeping the priors very conservative. If the authors of the letters personally knew Jesus or had access to eyewitness traditions, we would expect at least some reference to his earthly life teachings or named disciples. Instead, we find only cosmic Christology and visionary revelation, just like Paul. This suggests the textual silence and celestial focus are far more likely, obviously, if these authors understood Jesus as a heavenly being, not as a recently living person. Now, I mean, this is all thoroughly mythicist, right? And also remember that Mark and I was going to say something, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh shoot. Yeah, I mean, Jude and James and stuff. Even the letters of Jude and James don't mention there being brothers of Christ. This is a later development in the Gospels. You'd expect James and Jude to say that they were the brothers of this Jesus. Even if they were not relationally brothers, they would probably say something about having known Jesus as a person, but they don't. The conclusion is fairly obvious. This challenges the assumptions about early Christian unanimity regarding the historical Jesus historically, and invites a re-evaluation of what earliest believers actually proclaimed. So we see here a stratum of Christianity. That's it. These books are in the New Testament. That's the funny thing. They exist right there in the New Testament. These are books of the New Testament. They're very likely not written by these illiterate fishermen. We're told that Peter is an illiterate man, an illiterate fisherman. he writes this letter. It's a reasonably good letter. It reads pretty well. Is it likely that Peter wrote his letter? Is it rightly that appropriate to say that John wrote his letter? No, it's not. These are later developments, but they're still quite early. They're later, but they're still early. That means probably that, it's only at the very earliest, even this stratum of Christianity probably dates to no earlier than around 70. I did say that this might be pre the wars. It's possible. There's a lot of this apocalyptic stuff going on, but at the same time, we have wars up until the 130s under different emperors. In the Bar Kokhba revolt and so on, and I think it's Hadrian that rampages through Judea again decades after Titus and massacres Jews en masse. So there's that. Also, very quickly wanted to talk about the notion of coming again. It is a strange and abiding feature of these varied letters, the ones we've just discussed, that so few Christians have realized this, and that so cosmic a number of otherwise studious biblical scholars and diligent pious Christians have not thought to give this more consideration. Paul's instances of a coming or appearing in the future are, and I list 18 examples through the including Colossians, including Colossians here as well. So that's one of the considered kind of unauthentic Pauline letters, and also Timothy, 1 Timothy and Titus as well. There are 3 references in 1 Timothy or 2 Timothy and Titus. So 3 there, 18 in the authentic epistles and 3 in the pastorals. This is as good as a slam dunk for an argument as can be delivered. All references relating to a coming, revealing or appearance, and not one to a coming again or returning. Or whatever you want to say, coming again, returning, right? The coming back. There is no knowledge anywhere of an early earthly Jesus beyond a few extremely vague and fleeting examples. What if the resurrection had been altogether a different resurrection? Would it explain so many gaping holes in the 2,000-year quest for the real Jesus? The probability that Paul should use this language, knowing well that his Lord and Saviour had graced Judea and Galilee with his holy presence for a whole year and 3 according to John, stretches credulity to the limit. Take Timothy, 1 Timothy 3:16. Momentarily we find this. He appeared in the flesh, was vindicated by the Spirit, was seen by angels, was preached among the nations, was believed on in the world. Was taken up in glory. I'll finish very soon. Okay, he appeared in the flesh and then was seen by angels. Why not seen and attested by any of the witnesses of his material existence down here on earth? Why no clear attestation? Why no clear attestation of his existence or any storied reference we find in the Gospels? And only believed on in the world? Only believed. How about being seen by people, talking to thousands, performing amazing miracles, fighting with powers that be? Only one of the many deeds, sayings, acts would do to help us place him firmly on earth by people that knew about him. What we appear to be receiving from Paul only helps us put him in a category relating what other Gnostics believed at the time, that Jesus came only in celestial flesh and appeared only to initiated brethren and appeared in Revelation. We know of no other Christ at this point. So I will leave that there. So there's 41 instances, as well. And this is very important in Revelation, 1 Peter, 1 John, James, Jude and Hebrews. So important. You almost forgot this. Of the same being revealed to come, or appearing in the future, and nothing about Jesus coming again, with a small caveat of Hebrews, which I probably will explain later on, because Hebrews is entirely talking about the celestial Jesus, and there's a slight confusion there with the Greek that's used by, and some Christians get confused about that, but 41 instances across Paul, Revelation, 1 Peter, 1 John, James, Jude, and Hebrews of a coming to be, and an appearing to be. So before this point, we can reasonably assume that Jesus was coming in heavenly vision or revelation, in here, coming through the Spirit, giving people profound experiences. This is not really evidence for an historical Jesus. I'll leave that there for today. Hope that was all right. Hope I explained it well. There'll be videos coming. I'm hoping to be able to do one most days. I've got so much to cover. Have a good one, guys. Nice one.